What's up, boy? Hey, Jalil.
When COVID first started, everyone was scared. In my nephew's case, he's a type 1 diabetic. He had been in Hillcrest Juvenile Hall. During his duration of him being there, he was already administered like wrong insulin by one of their staff.
We didn't know how the treatment was in there with him. Very scary. We would visit, filthy up in there, dirty.
We researched the implications of COVID, especially for people with his type of condition, and coming from the point of him having asthma. With it, my mom brought it to the attention of the attorney. Just as what was said, that's what was done. She petitioned the court. They found that, the information to be accurate and that it was best suitable during that time for him to be at home.
Maybe a better night's sleep that night. Very happy that he came home, but you still sad because, other children stay behind, So we was for Julian, but we still worried about the other children that is stay behind and probably still there.
In the beginning, it was hard because I didn't know which direction to go. I felt like I was running into brick walls everywhere I turned. And I knew my son didn't know much about the system. I know he didn't know, even right down to them telling him he can take this plea and he could get paroled in a couple of months. But then once he signed a piece of paper, he was stuck with that plea. He couldn't get out of that plea. He had to serve his time.
We have been working with Andrea for years, and we tried post-conviction relief. We tried reaching out to the judge. Man, we just tried everything we could. And so when we saw that he had a parole hearing date, we was like, we can take all the efforts, that we've been doing these past years and send it to the parole board. And so we put a letter together from Free Hearts. We made sure that Andrea, was prepared going to the parole hearing and that we were all kind of on the same page, and we sent it in advance.
I went to his parole hearing and I was nervous, Andrew. I was nervous because I didn't know what was going to happen. But when he finished, he said, I'm going to suggest that you get parole. And when they actually gave it to him, he called me, he told me, and I called Jacob and them, and I was crying and everything because I was so excited. But it was just like the load was taken off for me. The worrying, the crying, the stressing, it was taken off for me because I knew my son was coming home, and it's all that mattered to me.
It was hard, but we got through it. And, did all the fight she could. I'm just grateful that I made it to make parole and come back with my family. I'm just glad to be around my son, my child. That's a huge blessing. I ain't even get to see my son born. It's like I graduated again. It's like a fresh start of life.
And we always talk about in participatory defense how we demystify the courtroom for families. With Denzel, because of his work, because how much he's loved by so many, that when Denzel was arrested and he was given an astronomical bail, that's when the participatory defense part really shined because of our social bios. This is this person you're trying to act like is a monster. This is the person you're trying to say you need his bail high because he's from Ohio and he has a failure to appear for a weed ticket, right? And coming together, his partner, Parrish, was instrumental. This is family led. They led this. And I think that's the real spirit of participatory defense and why I wanted him here, and he's being humble now, because he was the lead organizer in his freedom.
I wouldn't have been able to do that without the organization that I'm in and just local organizers here in San Diego. It's much easier to fight the beast with being a part of a revolutionary organization than it is just you, one individual. I didn't have any fear knowing that there was hundreds, if not thousands of people behind me supporting me. There was a point in time where several different COs or whatever they're called would come up to me in the holding cell and ask me the next time they called to tell them to leave. And they told me that there were pregnant women out there, which was my wife, and there was children out there, which was our children or our child at the time. I don't know if I would have had that confidence to take something to trial if I didn't have the support of the community. I don't think I would, because in the past I was, I copped out to something I know I didn't do.
So for us, participatory defense is an important group that showed real solidarity with us, material solidarity with us, and we are just very appreciative of that. It's a significant step towards independence and self-government for ourselves as colonized people.
On March 8th of 2019, I had some cousins that were involved in a car accident. And so I went to the scene to make sure that they were okay and got into an altercation with one of the police officers. She was searching my cousin's car, and I felt that she was being inappropriate. And during that time, she told me she was going to arrest me. And as soon as she said arrest, the two male officers who was on the scene, the three of them picked me up and body slammed me. And it wasn't until 7 hours later, when I was released from lockup, that I learned that I was arrested for interfering with government operations, resisting arrest, disorderly conduct, and simple assault. So the next day, I learned that the simple assault charge was against the police officer.
It was super important when we did that training to get her involved in it and to see how the module is set up and what it means and in every level of your defense. And so it gave her opportunities to meet other members and for people to hear her story and to get more ears and eyes, because this is something that we talk about all the time, in this participatory defense movement. It may be things that we haven't thought of, and the more people ears and eyes you can get on it, then it's like your brain start like going into overflow.
And in that process, LaTanya was helpful in me writing a letter to Danny Carr. And so once he received that letter, just basically sending him a bio of myself and just telling him my entire history, pretty much grown up in Birmingham City Schools, had gone to college, was now a teacher. And because of this lie by this officer, was potentially about to lose everything that I had worked so hard for. The community kept me fighting, because there were times where I honestly felt, especially prior to meeting LaTanya in September, like I honestly thought that I would be fighting this battle for an extremely long time, which means that I could still potentially be in this process here 3, 4, 5 years down the line with this hanging over my head and potentially losing my license in the process. So it is something that if you don't have a really strong community of people that are around you to keeping you encouraged, to helping you understand like how to navigate this system, it can be so easily to get caught up in it, to get lost in it, and to lose everything because of it.
When someone is detained somewhere so far away, it's 250 miles of distance, and there's not a whole lot that you can do but just hear their voice.
The first time I met Nora was back in December of 2018. I was at arraignment court. I asked her quietly, if she's here to support someone, if she wants to come outside, I'll be able to help assist her. All of us went in it with the outlook of trying to get Sergio home, but I think what it took was us to work together as a group and a community to use the different support mechanisms that we have within the group that we work with.
Preparing for the bond hearing, we supported Nora by gathering letters of support from family and community members, Sergio's employer. We packed the courtroom for the actual bond hearing. There was several people from the community that were there to support Nora, Sergio, and his children. So the judge got to see that community impact in the courtroom.
When I found out that Sergio was coming home, I was excited, happy, proud.
Again, I wasn't, a similar experience, but it really just revived some of the feelings of, going through my sister's case and knowing that, I think for, just San Mateo County Participatory Defense, this is, the first time that we're able to bring someone home from immigration detention, and just sitting with Nora and even being part of some of the calls that she had with Sergio, it really touched bottom for me because, these are the harsh realities that our families are going through.
Finding the right help is the most important aspect of it. CLESPA and Silicon Valley Debug and all of these other organizations that I've also come to know and have worked with, they have a larger vision. They have the bigger scale knowledge of what we can do as a community, as a particular family, but also as a community to make things, to have things change. 8 months into his detention, we accomplished that.
My family didn't live here at the time. So I didn't have anyone to just be able to just show up in court, and having people to show up was very important. My judge even started to close my courtroom because I started having too many people come. I got out of jail on pretrial on July 11th of 2019. I had sat in Durham County for 8 months on a $250,000 bond. Prior to that, I had never been incarcerated. So I didn't even know how to navigate it. I didn't even know what to do. My number one thing was seeing my children. Participatory defense was pretty huge in impacting my case. To have someone there to be able to tell you or to help you understand what is even happening. The social bio packet was very important. I also feel as though because it gives like the judge and other people a better perspective of you. Eventually, I stayed on pretrial for a year and a half. I was on ankle monitor for a year, and then I got off monitor, and I had finally my charges got dropped. If I would have taken a plea, which I was not gonna, I was just I'm gonna just have to sit here and I'm gonna just have to fight it for as long as I gotta fight it. The plea was 4 to 6 years. And I was just this is just crazy. But of course they try to force that on you. They're because they just want to get it over with. They just it's not their life. They're just here, this is what's happening. This is what they're going to give you.
Once her court case got dismissed and everything, she said that she wanted to be more involved in participatory defense and she wanted to do other things. And I was who else better to advocate for state-sanctioned kidnapping than someone who had both of her children kidnapped by the state?
I continued to work on participatory defense after my case because I felt as though people needed to know about it. It was a huge impact on my case, so I felt as though others needed to know. And if any way I could support, I wanted to be there to support.
Those will be stayed, and so the total term is 25 years to life, consecutive to 13 years. The defendant.
I just remember praying to God and saying, he's not going to do that.
Personally, I became kind of numb to it, and I was like, well, I'm going to die in here.
I just knew that I was going to fight and I wasn't going to leave him there. When he was sentenced, there was a lot of steps that me and Debug did to lower that sentence. Kept remembering your words, Sharice. That's right now. Things are going to change. We got to keep pushing. And it wasn't until that epiphany moment that I was like, you know what, this is true. We still have Prop 57. We still could see what's going from there. I wasn't looking at what happened. I was looking ahead. Soon as we got the appeal lawyer, that's when the work really started to happen. And both of them, the appeal lawyer and him, prepared me. This could take 10 years. I said, okay, good. I could wait. We could do this shit on our heads, you know?
She would always encourage me, like, don't lose sight of the exit. I just went with it because how can I not fight for myself when she's fighting so hard for me? But as I was going through the motions of it, I actually started finding the insight that I actually needed. And the more gas stations that I made it to, the further and faster the car wanted to go.
I took every opportunity to bring Joe up. I did it with the public defenders. Like, what's up? What can we do? Get this social bio packet together. He's doing well. It took 3 years. Then finally.
Yeah. He ain't tripping. He ain't tripping.
We have an 8-year-old daughter who craves her father. She does the best that she can to be included.
If your dad was a superhero,
He is.
which